Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. Your immediate reaction this morning?
That was a horrific attack, not only against Israel or the Jewish community, but against the values of the United States in the capital of the U.S., a few blocks from the White House. You know, innocent young professionals came to meet and to learn about diplomacy, and they were attacked by a terrorist. It's unfortunate, but we have to tie it to the incitement we have seen in the last few weeks against Israel. You know, the chants on campuses, death to Israel, intifada, calls for violence, riots, and also we saw it in diplomacy, in the halls of the UN. You know, senior UN officials spread lies about Israel, blaming us for committing a genocide. You know, USG Tom Fletcher a few days ago said that 14,000 Palestinian babies will die within 48 hours. All those lies create the atmosphere that leads to the actions we saw tonight. I expect actions from the authorities, not only declarations, but to fight against anti-Semitism.
Give us a snapshot, if you will, Ambassador, of, I guess, the scale of anti-Semitism that you think exists in America right now, relative to the last few decades. Has it been rising significantly?
Absolutely, and it's not a feeling. You know, we have numbers. You have reports of the FBI which indicates that there is a rise of anti-Semitism worldwide. You know, in the U.S., in Europe. And the main problem, Wilfred, is the gap between the declarations and the actions. Most leaders will condemn anti-Semitism. I'm sure within a few hours, when all the leaders will wake up here in the US, you will see condemnations across the aisle. The question is, what is the next step? Whether there would be a federal program to actually take actions. You know, how many indictments against people who promoted hate crimes took place in the US or Europe in the last year? So we expect actions. You know, you cannot put a guard in every event, in every synagogue. You cannot put a guard against every Jewish person in the United States, but you should look after those who incite for violence, arrest them and stop them before they commit those horrible crimes.
What do you make, therefore, though, of the response, albeit so far, I think only on social media, from the likes of Marco Rubio and, of course, the president?
We appreciate the strong words of President Trump and Secretary Rubio, very important words, and I believe that we will see more actions. You know, we have seen some progress on campuses, you know, and by the way, it's legitimate to have a demonstration, but it's not legitimate to attack Jewish students. It's not legitimate to call for death for other students. And I think we will see more actions taken by the new administration.
It's hard to sort of bring up the next topic, and I don't mean to sort of mix the two topics, because, you know, this morning we're obviously talking about this horrific double murder. But can you snapshot, you get to talk so much more with the key players, and obviously in this country we've been talking the last couple of days about a slight change in tone in the relationship from the UK government to the Israeli government, and I wonder what you think the tone is at the moment between the US government and the Israeli government. Have President Trump and his colleagues been taking a tougher stance, do you think, of late towards Benjamin Netanyahu?
No, I think we have a very strong bond with the US. We talk with them. We share our concerns. They support the goals of the war to bring back all the hostages and to eliminate Hamas. And I agree with you that we have seen a change in the UK and France. It wasn't a slight change. It was more than that. I think it was an orchestrated attack against Israel. And that's very interesting because, you know, the same day we actually decided to allow humanitarian aid to enter Gaza, we saw this diplomatic attack against Israel, those threats. But I have to be very sincere about the situation. We have no intention to stay in Gaza forever. We didn't start this war, but the war will not end with 58 hostages left behind. In order to finish this war, the hostages have to come back. Hamas should lay its weapons, maybe exile the leadership of Hamas, and then there will be future for Gaza and stability in the region.
So I mean, it's interesting to hear that explicitly, and maybe it's been misreported, maybe it's been exaggerated, or perhaps you would criticise some of the rhetoric from members of the government coalition to the right, whether it's the Defence Secretary or others, suggesting of displacement of Gazans. Is that explicitly not the plan of the government?
No, I think, we welcome new ideas out of the box. We heard President Trump about these ideas. But you have to look at the goals of the military operation we started after October 7th. Very clear goals. Bring back the hostages, eliminate Hamas. That's what we are focused on doing. I think after we achieve that, there will be a place to think about ideas, and I think it will be a better future for the Palestinians themselves. If Hamas will stay in the game, will stay involved, there will be no hope for the Palestinians.
Yeah, I don't want to get into all of the details today about proportionality of achieving goals, but I guess that would be what a lot of people might wonder. Just a final question, if I may, Ambassador, to bring it back to the tragic events of this early morning. Do you think that the Jewish community across America is safe, or is there a risk? Or do you feel confident that these incidents that we've seen this morning are thankfully few and far between, or is the danger ever present?
Our thoughts and prayers with the families, of the victims and the wounded. But, the problem with terrorism, that it creates an atmosphere. So it is safe for Jews in the United States. But when you see what happened last night in Washington, D.C., I'm sure everyone thinks about whether you should attend the service in a synagogue or attend an event that's part of its community. And that's what the terrorists want to achieve. But we have a strong community here. I'm sure they will continue to be supportive of Israel. And I believe that the authorities will do what is necessary to protect the Jewish community here.
Ambassador, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Wilfer.